since we've been back. And obviously, I think the studio that I'm in, which is my studio, the No Kawhi Shit Here studio, Sweep the League studio, whatever you want to call it, it's going to get an upgrade this weekend for sure. I've already bought some materials. I've bought some stuff. So this
you're putting pest control stuff up?
Which one? Or what'd you say?
You're putting pest control up?
Well, yeah, I've got the pest guy coming out because we've got a huge rodent or something up in the attic, so he's coming out tomorrow. But also the I don't know which way is it. The Jordan posters going up behind me. We've got other stuff going up. I'm pretty excited to get this studio worked up because last we heard Two Shot Studio was done, and I feel left out. So I need to get on the ball here and get this whole studio thing going for us here at Sweep the League. So. That's who we are. Sweep the League. I am the co-host, Rudy and Coach Jr., joined as always by Coach Gio, the Rambassador himself.
Woo-hoo. Mr. Rambassador, the Georgia Bulldogs, the Spurs, the Blue Devils.
Well, yeah. Didn't you pick another NBA team this offseason that you said you liked or something? That you were always a New Jersey fan.
Wait a minute. I don't know if you roll there. I am from Brooklyn, born and raised in the Big Apple, right? So there's a team there. So I have a birthright to my hometown team, you know? So
right. Okay, so because you were born in Brooklyn, that means you claim the Nets as your team too?
No, and if you notice from my post, Rudy, I said from a distance. Obviously, I'm not going to be some hardcore wearing Brooklyn stuff, but I am from New York City. I'm from Brooklyn area, so hey, I can claim them. I mean, I'm from there, so
I get that. But are you more Spurs fan or are you more Nets fan?
Rudy, of course.
They've got Kyrie. They're getting Kevin Durant. They did load up. So does that change your fandom at all? Does it change a little bit? A little bit.
Listen, Rudy, I'm a Spurs fan for life. Everyone who knows me, they know I'm a Spurs fan. I just can't turn the switch now and say I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan because people are going to be calling me out. And I don't want that to happen. So
okay.
Spurs all the way, black and silver. But you know, I think a casual Nets fan, I think that's okay. I'm from there. So, you know, it's not like you're going to be a Brooklyn fan because then if that's the case, you're a bandwagon. But I'm from the.
I mean, I was an all-time Dr. J fan. So, I mean, that kind of counts for something, right?
Rudy, I wasn't even live back in the 40s, bro. So that's not really warranted.
Well, okay. I will say this much about everything. Gio is a part-time Nets fan. If the Spurs don't make the playoffs and the Nets do, then he is a full-time Nets fan for the playoffs. So we are.
Well, listen, the Western Conference, it's gonna be brutal.
Okay, we'll talk about that because of the free agency talk that we're gonna get into. It mind boggles me because the only way it becomes brutal is if Kawhi Leonard comes into the West, and if he joins a certain LA team, a la the Lakers, that's when it becomes brutal. If he goes to the Clippers, I don't know. I don't know if it makes them contenders right away on the Clippers. There's really nobody there outside of Kawhi for the Clippers. So all this talk about the Clippers are going to be the best team in LA, they're going to be the best team in the West, I'm not buying it. If it's just Kawhi Leonard going to LA, to going to the Clippers.
Well, the Clippers, I think a lot of that talk has come from how they played against the Warriors. I mean, they took 2 games from the Warriors, which I thought was very impressive. They have a very good team, team-wise. I thought if they got Kawhi Leonard, it would be take them over the top, potentially. I think winning a championship with the Clippers, I think that's a lot more special than winning a championship with the Lakers. I get it. It's tradition. The Lakers have won a ton of NBA championships. But if Kawhi Leonard went to the Clippers, and if he won an NBA championship, Rudy, with 2 franchises that never won, man, that's impressive. But if he goes to the Lakers, all right, you got the big 3, LeBron, all those guys, they're probably going to win the championship. So,
Okay. I get that. Now, speaking of the West, and speaking of changes coming to the West. There has been a certain billboard that I got a little bit of credit from Jeff Garcia over at a Spurs Zone and WOAI. Him and I kind of worked a little bit together yesterday, and we found the mysterious billboard of one Boogie Cousins coming to San Antonio. Well, not coming to San Antonio, but recruiting basically Boogie Cousins to come to San Antonio. So this is where it gets kind of interesting on the West side. You have Boogie Cousins here. He's a free agent, and apparently no team was interested in him. We all know why. You know, he's got an attitude problem. That's probably the main reason why a lot of teams do not like Boogie Cousins. But if you take away the attitude, and let's say, you know, you've got Popovich coaching him, I think he puts that attitude in check. If there's any coach out there that can, or any system out there that he can benefit from, it is the San Antonio Spurs. And it's not because I'm a homer. It's not because you're a homer. We are not homers, because we call out the Spurs all the time on every show that we've done, if they're good, bad, whatever. But Boogie Cousins to San Antonio. Now, I'm going to give you my quick opinion on that. You tell me exactly how you feel about that. What I see is that if Boogie Cousins, and looking at the West, if Kawhi Leonard does not go into the Western Conference and the San Antonio Spurs are lucky enough to get a Boogie Cousins, and this is not homerism here at all, I say that you are looking at the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Now, am I crazy for saying that? Maybe. But if Kawhi comes to the West and if he goes to the Lakers, I see the Spurs no worse than 2 or 3. If Boogie, now this is all depending on Boogie Cousins. Right now, I see them as best as maybe 4 or 5 in the West.
So you're saying without Boogie?
Yeah, without Boogie, I see as high as 4 or 5. I see them still making the playoffs, but not as high as 4 or 5. With Boogie Cousins, I am seeing them number 1 seed if Kawhi does not come to the Lakers. So I'm not crazy on that. Like I said, it's not homerism. It's nothing like that. I'm saying that because if you look at the West right now, Klay Thompson's going to be out probably till All-Star break. Golden State does not have Kevin Durant. You're relying on Steph Curry and Draymond Green and hoping D'Angelo Russell continues his play. We don't know how D'Angelo Russell is going to play. For all we know, D'Angelo Russell is going to call, Ayesha Curry and tell her that Steph is cheating on her or something like that. He's going to cause drama. We don't know. We have no idea what D'Angelo Russell is going to do. Then you look at other teams. Houston is in a funk right now. Chris Paul and James Harden hate each other. So that's already done. You look at one, maybe 2 teams. I say 1 team, but give me 2 teams. Denver's going to be good. They're going to be there. But if you look at last year's playoffs, Boogie Cousins, he ate up Djokovic. I mean, he ate him for breakfast. So you're looking at 2 teams here that got extremely better, in my opinion, outside of the Spurs, and that's Portland is one of them with Hassan Whiteside. That was huge for them. That gives them – the only mistake Portland made this offseason was signing Dame to that big old contract. But I don't really – that's money that for them to spend. The other team is what you mentioned before the show here, and that is Utah. Utah put together a really nice offseason. Those 2 teams, if we see Donovan Mitchell, like you said, improve, that Utah team is going to be very special. Very, very special. So
I agree.
I see those 2 teams being better, but if you add Cousins to the Spurs, they are not better than the San Antonio Spurs team. Golden State does not have enough firepower against the Spurs team, considering Klay's out for at least half the season, maybe a little bit more. So, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking, man? I mean, is it something that – am I crazy for thinking that? I don't know. I mean –
well, I think the number 2 seed with Boogie Cousins, obviously, I think it's a possibility if he comes here. Mm-hmm. There's been talks of the Wizards, there's been talks of other teams potentially getting him. If the Spurs do get him indeed, and he obviously, he's close to being at 100%, he gets his conditioning, he's improved, his attitude. I think the sky's the limit for the Spurs. I think the number 2 seed, 3, maybe 4 could be right around there. If he's there, it's going to be interesting to see their young players. What are the young guys going to do? White's coming back, Murray, and obviously got Keldon Johnson. The Spurs, when it comes to rookies, are a little weird. So, but nonetheless, the young players have to step up. They get Boogie Cousins, but just last year we thought the Spurs for the next several years will be in rebuild mode. You got Cousins in here, you can shock the world. So 2 seed, I don't think it's super crazy. I think at the end of the day, I don't think he comes here. I think he goes somewhere else, Rudy. So the Spurs are probably.
That's a good point that you missed that, because not to cut you off, but right before we came onto the show, Dwight Howard, who was with the Wizards, and that's another team that was reported that Boogie Cousins had interest in, was the Wizards, and they had interest in him as well too. Dwight Howard got traded to Memphis, so that clears up that center position in Washington. Hoping that doesn't really say that Boogie's going there, but now it seems likely that he could go there because, again, he's got the Kentucky connection with John Wall, which I believe John Wall's not going to be ready for the season, right? Or is he?
I'm not 100% sure. You know,
check that out.
That contract looks really bad.
Oh, yeah. No. John Wall's contract's probably one of the worst contracts. It's no Enes Kanter contract. 2 years, $5 million a year. So, but, if we're looking at Boogie right now with the Spurs, you've got a passing big man, someone that can pass the ball. He can dribble. He can get to the lane. He can shoot. His defense is actually, I saw his defense improve a lot more in New Orleans, playing next to Anthony Davis. So, I mean, yeah, you're talking about a guy that's 2010. If the Spurs were to sign him and get, 15 and 8 out of him nightly.
Oh no,
that's
well, and you pair him up with LaMarcus Aldridge, which is, he still can play and he can shoot the ball really well. I think it kind of breathes some fresh air into the team. Where does Kawhi Leonard go? Because if he goes to the Clippers, it brings balance to the West. And if Boogie goes to San Antonio, I think now it's more even. Kawhi goes to the Lakers, I think it kind of counteracts what Boogie, if he does go to San Antonio, kind of double whammy. And at that point, I think the Lakers are still the favorite in the West. But, I guess we'll see what happens. But if he comes to San Antonio, I think Spurs fans are going to be real happy.
Yeah, I hope he does. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to have him come down here. It's going to be on a cheap contract, man. It's not going to be very expensive at all. So, I mean, we hope he comes down. I hope he comes down here. It's going to be awesome if we get a player like Boogie Cousins down here. I'm ecstatic for it. Let's hope he does. Let's hope he does decide to make his home here in San Antonio. I think it would be great. It would benefit a player like DeMar DeRozan. It'll benefit a player like LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, there's really no negatives. I mean, and the good thing is that he's probably going to be so inexpensive. I hate to call players cheap because it just kind of sounds wrong. He's going to be so inexpensive that if it doesn't work, the Spurs can, they're going to cut him and it's going to be like, oh, no big deal. They move on. So, yeah, hoping for Boogie, hoping that billboard does work. Hopefully he does come for here. But you did mention the young Spurs, man. They're having a great, start to the summer league. They did lose one game, but what I saw in that game that they lost was that they were down double digits and they fought back all the way to the end. I have been a Lonnie Walker's, not a hater, but I have hated on Lonnie Walker.
Man, yeah, you've been hating on that guy since day one, Rudy.
Yes, I have hated on Lonnie
hater
Walker
grade
a lot. But you know what it is? It's the armchair GMs, as Don Harris called it in the Spurs world, and it's the Spurs Twitter world, the dark web as we call it here. It's trying to hype up a player that you don't really see that much from yet, and I get that. Everyone's going to have high hopes and speculations and all that. I get that. I needed to see more out of it. I just because he ran a pick and roll doesn't mean he knows how to play the game of basketball. I mean, I want to see more talent from him out of that than anyone. But he was having a really good summer league so far. The Spurs actually played tonight, I believe, at 9:00. So I'm going to check that game out. It's the Vegas league, so it's a little bit bigger. But yeah, my so far, you've got Keldon Johnson, Luka, Lonnie Walker, Ned Vedder's also. He's been nailing threes left and right.
Yeah.
One guy under the radar that I hope to at least gets an invite to camp, and he sticks with the Spurs, is one of my favorite players, and he's not from Carolina. He sure as hell isn't from Duke. He's actually from the University of Kansas, and that's Thomas Robinson. I've loved that guy's game for a long time. I dreamt of him being a Spur, when he was coming up. He's with the Spurs now. So I'm hoping he gets an invite. He's actually had a really good summer run under the radar. He's not putting up huge numbers, but he's putting up good numbers. I think good enough to get him a camp invite. Hopefully he sticks with Austin. I know we've got Keldon Johnson too, but what are you seeing from the Spurs Summer League that you like? I mean, I've seen quite a bit, and it's been pretty impressive so far.
Yeah, I know it's young. It's just started, so I don't have too much stock in the Summer League. But Keldon Johnson, very impressed with what I've seen so far, along with Luka and kind of what he's done per se, and also some of the other guys. The Spurs, they got young talent. This is something that, for the past decade or so, I think we've kind of laughed at some of this younger Spurs talent because they've always gotten veterans. So it's interesting to see how that young talent molds into a Popovich team. And I feel like the Spurs, if done right, if that talent continues to improve, you're potentially seeing at a team that's going to grow a lot, and also the young talent coming to its own, because White had a good season last year for the most part. Forbes is improving. You get Murray in there, Keldon Johnson. So many young pieces. How does Pop make that fit? The Summer League is a start, obviously, and just continue to get better and better every single day. And potentially, hopefully, the next few years, the Spurs may have a shot at the championship. So, we'll see what happens.
It's possible. And in an open West that we've talked about earlier, these guys are going to just improve. Luka seems to be ready to contribute a little bit right now. Keldon Johnson, he was the 7th best prospect on ESPN's Top 100. So, this play from him is not really new, especially if you followed him in high school.
Yeah.
I did follow him in high school. In Kentucky, I think he was a little overshadowed in Kentucky. He did have a good season, but he wasn't that coming out of high school. He was that spectacular player. He would make you go ooh and ah. In Kentucky, it was more of, I felt like a pro level type of system for him, where he didn't have to be showing you the oohs and the ahs and trying to, make himself look good. He was good. All he had to do was show that, okay, I can be a good pro. And that's what he's showing in the Summer League, is that he can be a good pro. What I've seen the most of the Summer League guys is we're actually seeing defense.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So
there is
we need that
defense being played by these young guys, and that is exciting, because who knows, we may see the turn of the corner for a DeMar DeRozan, who his defense picked up throughout the season, but can he become a better defender? I think so. DeJounte Murray, yes, he was all NBA defensive team, first, second team, I believe. And that's good. That's great. You're getting him back for the season. But we don't know. This is what I want to say to Spurs fans. Don't overhype DeJounte just yet. Don't do that, because we don't know what we're getting yet. Give him a little bit of time to get into basketball, shape and everything. We don't know what we're getting yet from him.
Well, people like to anoint people on Twitter. And listen, we obviously know the talent. We know it's there. But just be careful. Don't get people all riled up, because I'm saying Spurs Twitter and these armchair general managers, man, who should probably have a job, maybe, I don't know. But just give them time to develop. Be careful what you say. Just let them go. And what's funny? Especially Murray, he blocks a lot of people on Twitter. This guy, I've seen people post up photos of people, you talk trash to him, he's probably going to block you. So he doesn't want that negative vibe. Just stop.
Yeah, that's true. And I've been critical of Lonnie Walker. I still need to see more out of him. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I did call him a bust on one show a while back.
We should find that crap if he turns into a big time star. We're going to replay that crap over the air.
I definitely have to eat crow. Maybe I'll grow my hair out enough to where I can get it like Lonnie's or something and kind of apologize like that. But I mean, I will eat crow on that. I know for a fact. If he turns out to be as good as, we're hoping he can be, that'll be great for the Spurs. I'm excited about this youth. I was not excited on draft night, only because I kept thinking, why are we drafting so many guards? Why are we drafting this? It makes sense now. You're looking at a Derek White, a DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan, guys like Patty Mills, Marco Bellinelli. These guys are not going to be there probably much longer. So you're going to have to restock on the guard. And the NBA is a guard piled. It's a guard stocked league, man. I mean, you've got to have a whole lot of guys that can shoot the ball. So.
Those guards, Rudy, it's a different game. I know you always hashtag not my NBA, but it's a different league, and it's a guard-driven league. And when I was growing up, Rudy, it was the era of the big man. You needed a Patrick Ewing, you needed Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. Like teams wanted a big man. Alonzo Mourning. I mean, I can go on, but it's changed a lot. Steph Curry's 3-point shooting has really changed the game, and we're at this thing where you need a guard that can not only pass the ball, but you need to be a scoring point guard. You need to be that kind of dual threat, and that's what we've come to.
Man. I'm still here, so go ahead.
Yeah. So the point guards today, you got to do a little bit of everything. So the development, I think, of the NBA players, it's a lot better than what I feel like we've had more bust, and maybe years past, but lately, man.
What was just getting off topic. Who was the last bust? Was it Anthony Bennett drafted number
1? It wasn't even his fault, Rudy. He should have never been drafted number 1. But unfortunately he was. It was probably Anthony Bennett, Rudy. I'm not 100% sure. There's been so many draft picks, but definitely Anthony Bennett does stand out as a guy that
there's the difference. We have to get into this kind of debate later on. Kwame Brown or Anthony Bennett, the worst number 1 pick. I mean,
I'm going to go with Anthony Bennett because at least Kwame Brown he played more. I mean, bro, Anthony Bennett, no disrespect to him, he's in the G League. He's been there for several years now. So, I feel so bad for him because when you're drafted number 1, Rudy, it's kind of like a thing where, all right, I'm the number 1 pick. But he should have never been drafted number 1. I mean, that was like
Anthony Bennett was probably the 20th, maybe 21st best player in that whole draft.
I don't know what Cleveland. I don't even know what they were smoking, bro. Somebody must have been smoking some stuff, man.
I think what happened was they maybe wrote the wrong name on the card. It's possible.
Well, what happens, Rudy, with these analytical stuff, and you think too hard, you kind of go overboard, and think, man. I think we should don't go with this guy. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, probably Anthony Bennett comes to mind very early. It was unfortunate. Still in the G League. Hopefully he can make a career in the NBA. But as of right now, it's probably the worst.
I don't think so.
It's probably the worst.
I'm going to say
NBA
no
pick.
For sure. So, NBA free agency talk. We got a couple of things in free agency that's we need to get to. Obviously, he hasn't made a decision yet. So, as everybody else is on Kawhi watch pretty much. So
people are on bro. There's people on suicide watch on Facebook.
Yeah,
and Twitter.
We know that for a fact. What do you think? Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? How do you feel? I mean, I think he's going into his 9th and 10th year. After his 10th year, he's able to get a super max contract. So it makes sense for him to maybe just sign a 1 or 2 year deal. I have a feeling he's going to stay in Toronto. I don't think he's going to go to the Lakers or the West Coast just yet. What I'm thinking is that he maybe signs a 2 year deal or a 1-1 with Toronto and then goes to LA when he's able for that super max deal. It kind of makes sense to me, but nobody knows what this guy's doing, dude.
Rudy, Kawhi Leonard, he's a weird dude, man. He's a weird cat, and he does what he wants, and it's hard to really gauge what he's thinking. Obviously, there was a report that came out from Chris Broussard that it's torn between the Lakers and the Raptors. I thought the Clippers could really get into the mix, but apparently that kind of went south. So it's between those two teams. I think he stays in Toronto, maybe a 1 or 2 year deal, like you said, and then he'll be opportunity for that super max contract. And then, he may go to LA after that. But I really think how the season went with the Raptors and also the load management, him not playing all those games, has a very comfortability factor with the Raptors and their medical staff. I think he stays. But really, I won't be surprised if he goes to LA. He's from California. He played at San Diego State. So he's one of those dudes, man. You just can't gauge him. So
Yeah, honestly, man, here's the thing is that he's an LA guy. He's gonna get back to California at some point in his career. That is a fact. I'm willing to bet $1 trillion on it. It's a fact. He's gonna get back to California at some time in his career. Is it gonna be this off season? No, it's not. It's not gonna be this off season. I think he stays in Toronto. I think, like I said, and you hit it too on the head. The coffin here. It's that LA thing with Supermax. I think he's gonna wait till he gets that Supermax after that 10th year, because that makes a lot more sense. He's gonna make more money playing in LA or even California once he gets that kind of deal. Right now, he's not gonna make X number of dollars like he would if he was to wait it out. Also, look at the chances. Yes, you go to the Lakers. You are the absolute number one team to win the NBA title next year. You are crowned the NBA champions before the season even starts. Now, all that depends on health, but you are crowned that. But is that a guarantee out west? If Boogie Cousins goes to the Spurs, is that a guarantee that he gets back to the finals with the Lakers? Because then you've got a trio of players, for the Spurs. You've got a big three for the Lakers, a big three for the Spurs. I mean, it's tough. It really is tough to decide.
Well, it's definitely tough but in my opinion, I still think it makes the Lakers the favorite to probably win a championship. I think load management for Davis, for LeBron, they're all going to miss time. They'll probably always have at least one star on the floor. This is a Laker team, though. They need shooters, though. They need to really fill out this team, because just because you got 3 studs and you got no damn bench, we've seen in the playoffs, Rudy, if you don't have a bench, you're going to struggle because of injury as well. Because Anthony Davis, he hasn't, from my knowledge, Rudy, he hasn't played a full season.
Yeah.
So he's very injury prone. So one bad slip on him, if he's out for the season, it brings the Lakers on earth. But LeBron James, I think he's going to have a very, very good season this year. If Kawhi comes in, I think he takes a step back and really lets those two guys kind of flourish under the team, and also the coaching staff as well. How do they gel? They don't have a team yet, man, because they only have 2 kind of players right now. Everything else is kind of up in the air. And to be honest with you, the signing of Jared Dudley, that doesn't really scare me at all.
It shouldn't scare there's no signing that they've done that scares anybody. They've traded for Anthony Davis, yeah, but there's nothing that scares anybody off about this team.
I will say Kyle Kuzma, I really like him staying.
But he becomes the 4th option. That hinders his growth in the NBA. Are you really thinking that the Lakers coaching staff are going to get plays for Kuzma or design plays for Kuzma? No. That, to me, if I'm Kyle Kuzma and Kawhi comes to the Lakers, I'm pissed off, because now I went from the 3rd option to the 4th option. So that tells me, okay, well, F you, I'm going to go when my contract's up. I'm taking off, which actually should be up in about a year or 2. So, that hinders his growth. But before we go on to the next topic here that we've got, because I think we're going to go into some football talk here after this, but let me put this scenario on you here. Kawhi is about rest and load management lately.
Well, not only that, Rudy, but also information leaking out. The Lakers have a ton of information leaking out from Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
That's something that he does not like, the leakage of information.
Yeah, that for sure. But where I'm getting at is Kawhi is about rest management, or load management, that's what they call it. But it's about resting. LeBron James needs to rest games. Anthony Davis will probably end up resting some games.
We're all going to rest.
Yeah. How do you determine? Because let's be honest, with no bench at all, these guys cannot take off the same night. There's no way. So do you say, Kawhi, we're only going to give you 20 games of rest or 15 games of rest? LeBron, we're going to give you 25 games of rest. Anthony Davis, 20 games of rest. There's going to be nights where two guys are off. Let's be honest. They're not going to. How does that? If you think about it, because these guys are going to need so much rest, and you have to stagger them. it's really not a big.
Well, I think LeBron plays more game. I think he'll try to probably play the most games out of the two.
Mhm.
Last season was his first season that he was hurt. Normally he plays a good amount of games. I think he's the only one that I think I probably see him maybe resting 10, 15 games, a little bit less than that. The other two, you just don't know because Anthony Davis, there's always something going on. And Kawhi Leonard, we know about the load management, so he's definitely going to rest. So at what point, that's why it's so important, Rudy, in my opinion, don't get Kawhi Leonard and go spend some money on some other guys. It's starting to get a little bit too late, Rudy, because most of the guys.
Well, there's nobody left.
Well,
you have what,
I think,
Marcus Morris, Kelly
is
Oubre.
Iguodala getting traded?
Well, okay.
There was a report that he might get traded.
That's kind of a subject that came up because originally they were supposed to release him or buy him out, but then word came out they want to trade him. So,
well, I think it's because the Lakers, and I don't know if the Grizzlies are just trying to play hardball, but they're like, well, shit, if we can get something for him, let's try to get something for him. And I think the Grizzlies, to be honest with you, I'm not sure why they're hardballing because that team is obviously in, disaster relief. So,
yeah. Well, real quick, I want you to give everybody your winners and losers. I'm going to jump off real quick. I've actually got to. My phone is dying, so I got to get the charger real quick for it.
Sure.
That way I have it. But give everybody your winners and losers in free agency. I'll be back in a couple of seconds.
Well, for certain, I think one of the winners is the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, you get Kevin Durant, obviously the Achilles injury, he's going to come back the following season, whatever. You got Kyrie there. I think it's a team on the rise. If healthy, that team could take off. And also they got DeAndre Jordan, 4 years, $40 million. He's another piece of the puzzle. Jarrett Allen's still there. Not this season. Kevin Durant's not there, but the following season, I really think Brooklyn could take it over the top. And also another team I really love, the Utah Jazz. Mike Conley coming there. Not only that, they get Ed Davis, Jeff Green, Moutier, also Bogdanovic from the Pacers. Mitchell, it's important for him this summer to really improve on his game, continue to get better and better. I think Utah is a team that no one's really talking about, but I really, really love their team. And also the New Orleans Pelicans as another winner. I mean, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Ingram, obviously Zion Williamson, Jackson Hayes. I mean, really just a young team. Obviously, I don't see them in the playoffs this season, but the next several years, the Pelicans is really, really going to get for them. And obviously a big loser, and I can't say this enough, Rudy. The New York Knicks. I'm from New York, man. Crap. Seriously?
I know.
You don't think Kevin Durant's worth the money? You don't think he's worth the money? No offense.
Well, we all know how they felt about Kawhi Leonard. They canceled the meeting with him to go after other free agents.
Julius Randle, Rudy, I think he's the prize that they got. But really, Bobby Portis, really? Taj Gibson, Reggie Bullock, Alfred Payton. Oh
it's God. Okay. It's not the worst roster assembled. I will give the Knicks a little credit, like minimum credit.
Rudy, this is New York, man. This isn't Memphis. Like what the hell they're doing over there?
They had a better roster in the movie Eddie than they do right now.
Bro, it's the New York Knicks, man. It's a storied franchise. It's the Mecca. It's New York. How the hell does Brooklyn outshine you? No offense to Brooklyn, but they're 20 minutes away from Madison Square Garden? The Knicks, You continue to do this. They really need a restructuring. They need a clean house. And somehow, some way, get the owner out of there. I'm not saying for someone to do a trap and kind of do what they did to the owner of the Clippers. But something has to happen. Get rid of him. And also another loser, Rudy. Another team. It kind of happens. I used to live in this place like I did in New York. The Orlando Magic. Listen, they got too many bigs up front. Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, Al Farouk. and their first round pick, all big guys. What about your backcourt? What about your bench? I did not like what the Magic did. And also the Charlotte Hornets, Rudy. And have you seen a pattern here, Rudy? It's places that I've lived. New York, Orlando, and the Charlotte Hornets.
So you've been talking about living in San Antonio. Just you may want to go live in San Marcos or Cibolo.
Bro, so the Charlotte Hornets, as obviously I live in the Charlotte area. Michael Jordan, another guy that's clueless, that doesn't re-up the guy they're supposed to.
I'm going to let you get away with that kind of chitter chatter.
So he signs Terry Rozier 3 years. Okay, $58 million. Bro, I've been to those games already. Well, with no Kemba Walker, they're going to have like Friday night $5 ticket night because no one's going to those games.
It's not your fault. It's not anybody else's fault.
It's just ironic that I'm living in these places. And is it me, Rudy? Is it me? Maybe I had to look myself in the mirror.
It's like I told you. If you decide to move to San Antonio, move to a suburb. Don't move to San Antonio.
And also another team, I'm throwing there, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not sure what the hell they're doing, but I'm not going to talk about any other crap they did, but that's another loser. So I have the Knicks, the Charlotte Hornets, the Orlando Magic, and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to give them that. Mine were the losers were the Knicks, and obviously the winners that I had. I really like what Utah did. I really like what.
Yeah, I was saying, Ray, I think Utah, they have a good coach. Their fans are a little. I'm not going to go into that, but
a little crazy.
A little crazy out there in Utah. But overall, I thought the team's very well, and they could be a big threat in the West.
Well, we are on our last segment, so I wanted to get into some Zeke Elliot talk. Now, I have it as a makeup for the last call. He did meet with Roger Goodell. Goodell said he's not going to get suspended. Okay, I get it. You're not going to suspend him. Now, my question is why? You suspended him last time, and people couldn't figure out why you suspended him. This time, we've got more video proof of why he should be suspended. It's an altercation, but you're not going to suspend him. Now, yes, the security guard said, no big deal. It's no problem, whatever. But the simple fact comes is that it is an altercation. And the NFL has been having a zero tolerance policy on this. So is this a makeup call for suspending him the first time, or did he really just not deserve to get suspended?
Rudy, this is one of those situations. Obviously, Zeke Elliot has done some bonehead things. Remember the incident, Rudy, where he was on a boat and he took the girl's bra off, and then obviously last year and what happened. Obviously, the guy, I'm not sure if he's getting it through his head. You might want to relax when you're out in public. In today's age, Rudy, everybody has a camera. Everyone has a camera, a phone, whatever. They're going to record you. And this isn't obviously, he pushed down that security guard. He got into a little scuffle. It probably is a makeup call, Rudy, for some of the things that have happened. Obviously, the Tyreek Hill situation is still going on, and not sure what's going to happen there. The NFL, ever since I can remember, just always has issues with some of their star players just being knuckleheads. It is a makeup call, Rudy. I'm okay with it. He didn't do a whole lot, and even the security guy said, "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it." So I think the NFL, it's a makeup. He better not do this again because he will get suspended if he does something like this again.
Yeah, I do. I don't think he should have been suspended. It's another thing.
No.
But the thing is, you're right. It's in public. Somebody's gonna have a camera. Somebody's gonna get this on film. Just if you can't handle your alcohol, which I can, if you can't handle it, don't drink it, man. Obviously it's getting you into some trouble. So just lay off the booze and just have a good time. How hard is that to just, have a good time and relax, chill? You were at a concert of all things. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
Well, Rudy, it's always going to be football players. Obviously, we get baseball and NBA from time to time, but it's always the football players. Tyreek Hill, his son has a broken arm, and then Adrian Peterson. Remember that thing where he turned himself in because he hit his son? It's kind of a weird situation. It's always something with these players, and dude, man, just lay low. There's no need to be. There's so much aggression, and I played football for a little bit, and it's a real physical sport, Rudy. I get it, but when you're outside, man, keep the football and keep the player off the field. Sometimes players can't separate the two, and that's where you have. I mean, look at Aaron Hernandez. I mean, that's another thing, man. It's just this guy was what He was Mr. Connecticut, and he goes to Florida, and he just gets in the wrong thing. And so, yeah, man, it's a makeup call. The NFL kind of needed something like this to kind of clean some of his image up. But man, it's been rough for the NFL.
It has, and the good thing is that we have more positive stories in the NFL. And one of the things we can do here at Sweep the League is, before we get off the air, is predict a way too early Super Bowl for us. Now, I'm probably gonna go. I'm not gonna go with the Rams on the.
That's fine.
Seaside, at least I don't think. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna say that my AFC pick again is gonna be the Los Angeles Chargers.
Go Chargers, go!
Yes, they are it's the Los Angeles Chargers for sure. The NFC, I am having a horrible time picking it, man.
It's going to be hard, Rudy,
because I have a big heart for the Atlanta Falcons.
I mean, I would hope so. That's your team.
Something tells me that these bitches are going to make.
Well, wait a minute. I told you a few months ago, Rudy. I said don't sleep on the Falcons.
What I did was I put the blinders away. I opened up my eyes a little bit more. I did a little more research on my team, and I figured, okay, let me see exactly how horrible Matt Ryan is. And he's bad. He's bad. I'm not gonna say he's good. He's bad. But I think now with the offensive line issues hopefully taken care of, I think we could see possibly MVP Matt Ryan again this season. But I am, as much as I want to take the Falcons to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC, I have to say that I'm gonna go with the LA Rams as the pick.
You just couldn't help yourself, Rudy. You gotta go with those Rams, baby.
I predicted last year an all LA Super Bowl, and I'm predicting an all LA Super Bowl again. Now, I will give you a dark horse team, and this is a super dark horse team. I'm going to give you one for each side. The AFC, I am secretly and deeply in love with the Colts. I really am. So that's my super dark horse pick. Austin Hartsfield would love that. The other pick that I've got is after looking at the record, if they maintain, if they play up to par, I could see the Dallas Cowboys possibly making that super dark move into a Super Bowl appearance. And I am not a Cowboy fan. I do not like the Cowboys. But what I see from the Cowboys is their defense improved. I loved the Randall Cobb signing. That made so much sense for that team. I think that Dak now has weapons to where if Dak becomes Dak that he's supposed to be for this team, they are pretty unstoppable because he's got weapons around him. And he doesn't have just any weapons. He's got veteran weapons around him. Where you've got Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, and then you get your security blanket back in Jason Witten, which isn't going to do much. But what he does bring is that, 10, 12-yard catch every now and then, that security blanket that, as football players know, as a quarterback, you always want. So before we get off the air, what are your picks? What are you looking at right now?
Well, in the AFC, I'm going to actually show everyone a quick video here. In the AFC, baby, the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be my team. I think Pat Mahomes takes that next step. I think his stats obviously won't be as good as last season, but the Chiefs defensively is going to be one of the reasons why I do this. The defense last year, Rudy, was horrendous. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. They couldn't stop anybody in the secondary. They adjusted that. They got some drafts, signed some key free agents. The pass rush will improve. Steve Spagnuolo is the new defensive coordinator. I think he'll bring kind of a different swagger to that defense. He's formerly with the Giants for a few years, took them to the Super Bowl. So I think defensively they'll improve. Offensively, Tyreek Hill, I think he comes to play this season. He could be suspended for a few games. He comes back. Damian Williams. And I just feel like Kansas City will take that next step. Should have been in the Super Bowl if it wasn't for that offsides call. But anyway, the Kansas City Chiefs and in the NFC, really, I thought long about this, and I don't want to sound like a homer, but I just think the Rams, I think they get back to the Super Bowl. And the reason is because I think the team really made some changes in the offseason. They improved on the offensive line. They added more depth up front. Defensively, got a little bit younger. Some younger guys are going to come into the fold this season. And I just like the mix of this football team. Obviously, Todd Gurley, what's going to happen with him. And, he's going to have load management. But to be honest with you, I just think the Rams are going to get back to the Super Bowl. My dark horse pick, though, I think it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the Eagles is a team that, if Carson Wentz stays healthy, I just really think the Eagles are going to be a really good football team if they could just stay healthy as well, because they had problems last year just staying. Everybody was dropping dimes, just laying on the floor. And also, if I can have another wild card team, I'm going to give the Bears some love. I don't like Mitchell Trubisky. Their offense is blah, but defensively, I think they're really good. Though I think they'll miss Vic Fangio, who is now the head coach for the Denver Broncos. Mm-hmm. And in the AFC, Rudy, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are another team. I think Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know. I've been telling you about this team the past few months, Rudy, and you've been looking at me weird. I'm telling you right now, Ben Roethlisberger is going to have a new life. No more Brown. No more force feeding. I just like this team defensively, getting their linebacker in the draft. I just feel like Pittsburgh and Kansas City, I think those two teams potentially could be on a collision horse. I like to pick with the Colts. I think they're going to improve as well. I don't like the Colts historically outside in the playoffs. They tend to, not play too well outside of that dome. So if they can get home field throughout the playoffs, I think I have a good advantage. But anyway,
I don't like Pittsburgh. It's just something about Pittsburgh that's just.
Rudy, I'm telling you, I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to have a MVP caliber season. I think people are going to be surprised how good Pittsburgh. And I know everyone's talking about the Browns. I get it. They're the darlings of the AFC. They're the Rams of a few years ago. But I just think Pittsburgh, and we'll talk about the division winners, in the next month or two. But I think Pittsburgh and Kansas City. You obviously can't count out the Patriots, but I think those two teams.
Okay, and those are good. We're gonna definitely get into more NFL talk for sure. I mean, this isn't the only time we're gonna talk. We're actually gonna have a show or two on Sundays, or maybe just one big show talking about NFL and fantasy football. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And that pretty much is wrapping it up for us here at the big show here at Sweep the League. Of course, we talked about Boogie Cousins, hoping that happens for the Spurs. Also, the Spurs youngins playing this summer. I'm getting pretty excited to see how they do tonight. Hopefully they do really, really well. I think Zion is playing right now, so as soon as we get off, I'm going to check out that game. It's the Pelicans versus the Knicks, Zion versus RJ Barrett. So I'll probably check that out. But man, I mean, I'm getting excited about the NFL show. This seems like this worked a little bit better for us, so we may end up using this for the meantime on our live streams and stuff. So we'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate everybody. We actually had a pretty good count on the live look-ins, as I like to look at it. We had, I think, up to like 10, 11 people at one time looking in. So as soon as we get a little bit bigger, we know it's going to get better. The bigger we get, the more you guys get for sure out there. We do give away prizes from time to time, but we still got to get a lot more viewers in there. Tickets, hats, jerseys, stuff like that. We'll be giving away some stuff. So for myself and for Coach Gio, you want to give a last minute shout out? And also I've got your Twitter handle out there, but you can also share other stuff from.
Yeah, Coach Gio 56. You can catch me on Twitter. You can also catch me on Facebook as well, Gio, if you want to see some of the weird stuff I post. Tales from the Sunshine State. You can also obviously catch me on Sweep the League, and also at times also Two Shots and Project Spurs.
Yeah, definitely. We both, you can catch us both on Two Shots podcast from time to time. Joining Joe Garcia out there as he talks anything and everything Spurs related. And of course, you can follow me at Sweep the League on Twitter. I was just notified a minute ago that I am now being followed by the Bexar County Jail. So I am hoping that isn't anything serious. If it is
there something you need to tell the fans, Rudy, that something that
I have no idea.
Am I going to be the lone host for a while?
I don't know, man. The last thing I killed or murdered was a burger earlier. So I mean, that's about the closest thing that I've come to killing or anything. So big shout out to the Bexar County Jail out there. Thank you for following me. I followed you back.
Well, Rudy,
on the safe side.
it's quite similar to how we've had at sometimes we'll have like these strange Twitter page.
We've got about a couple minutes. You can say it.
These strange porn Twitter pages retweeting our stuff.
Yeah, you're being followed by so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then all of a sudden, so-and-so retweeted your stuff. And you're like, who the hell is this? And it's, it's like some adult video porn star, or whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I want you following me now. That's,
whatever. We're getting a retweet, but whatever.
What do? You have to make a burner account, right? I mean, that's probably what you have to do, so they can follow you there, and they're on your burner account. I'm not promoting anything, by the way, but I'm just saying that there are ways you can have these adult porn stars or whatever on your Twitter account. It just has to be a burner account. So, yeah, I'm glad that the Bexar County Jail is following me. So obviously somebody out there is either looking for me or a fan. So, hey, big ups to you, Bexar County Jail. We're giving you a shout out right now. So yeah, be sure to catch us. We'll be on every week.
That's really weird, Rudy.
It is, but I'm not gonna look too much into it. Jeff Garcia from Spurs Zone gave me a real big boost in Twitter, the Twitter world, because of the billboard. So it could be just because of that. So
that is true. Jeff could have gotten you that jail.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to worry about it. I mean, if I go to jail, I go to jail. I'm going to have the teardrop on my eye and stuff like that tattooed, so I can go in there looking like a big time murderer, big time killer or something. But yeah, we'll be on every week. Normally we do it on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Today we did a Friday show. We try to get stuff up and going. But look for us on a Tuesday, Wednesday. Usually we give a shout out to when we are going live. We also do a little preview show before the show actually starts, so look for that. We have a lot of guests coming on. Austin Hartsfield from MLB covers the Sod Poodles. Really, really big podcast that he does, Painting Corners. Does a really good job out there. We've got Project Spurs. So Michael DeLeon. Also, Ben Bornstein has been joining us. He joined us one time. Bunch of guys from Project Spurs we got. I'm going to try to get Spurs Zone on here with us as well. Jeff Garcia. We've got a bunch of guys. Joe Garcia as well. He'll probably join us from time to time. We just got to make sure that we keep Joe clean that whole time.
Joe's been a little dirty lately. Actually, not lately. Ever since I've known him, we gotta keep him. Shoot him on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of guests coming on. So just be patient for those of you guys that we've asked to be on our show. You're gonna get on the show, so don't worry about it. But until next time, we hope Kawhi's news will come out tonight, maybe tomorrow. Boogie's supposed to meet with the Spurs as early as next week, so hopefully we get something on that. Until then, thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate it. We are out.